So welcome everybody to Live Wild and Free. We are an online educational arm of the Center for Spiritual Living, Carson City, and I am so happy to be here today. Live Wild and Free has a mission to provide a strong and unshakable inner foundation that works for long-term and successful living, with a purpose of activating inner self-awareness. And our vision is a world in which everyone lives wild and free. So this Live Wild and Free endeavor, like I said, is a part of Center for Spiritual Living, Carson City. It is the online educational arm of the center. Most of what Live Wild and Free is going to be podcasts like this, interviews, chats with practitioners or ministers or even lay people who might have something they want to say. They've got a specialty, and we have a guest here today who has a specialty, and we have another guest, and if you have a specialty, you can talk to me about it later, and I might feature you on a next podcast. Just real briefly, wild meaning uncontrolled by humans. Free, I see, as the definition of spirituality, feeling joyful and at peace no matter what's going on out there. The emphasis with spirituality, with the freedom of the freedom piece of Live Wild and Free, is on feeling. And today, I'd like to introduce our guest. Her name is Carol Davis. She is a practitioner. She's currently serving at Center for Spiritual Living in Palm Desert, California, as the youth director. This lady is doing a lot of stuff. She shared with me before we started that everything she's doing right now is right brain stuff. She's writing, she's doing photography, she's acting, she's teaching the kids. Everything that she's doing is right brain, and she said that she's just soaring because of it. And I think that's so awesome to be able to do all that right brain stuff. She has been a practitioner for 7 years. She's also working on a new book. It's a memoir, and I know a little bit about Carol's story, and I can tell you that's going to be a book that's going to be in my library when it gets published. She also has 20 published articles on soulspring.org. So if you want to check her out some more, there's lots of ways to do so. And your website, Carol, is changelesschange.com, right? Correct. So the book that we are talking about today is called Changeless Change by Carol Davis. And Carol, I'd like to let you take it a little bit and tell me what's up with the book? Why did you write this book? What came out of this book for you? What prompted you to write it?
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me, Karen, on the show. I'm just honored, and it's a lot of fun always to be with you. Actually, it's going to sound weird, but it's the format that I had in my mind, that I was kind of obsessed with the format. As you know from reading it, Lori would know this, every page stands alone. There's a picture and a story like this. Every page is just like one little story and one little illustration. That format came to me because whenever I've been in pain, like years ago, I'd be in pain and I'm looking for grief or whatever, and I'm looking for help. And every book has too much black. There's too many words. I just, when I'm upset, when I need something now, I don't want to page after page after page, black, and try to, like it's a school book. And that's how all the self-help books or what inspirational books seemed to be to me. So first of all, it was the format. As silly as that may sound, I go, if I ever write a book of Carolisms or whatever, it's going to be in this format. So that's what I was stuck on that. Then for about 20 years, I just started making notes of things. That's what the book is, just making this note and that note about little quips, I just make up things. I see things in solitaire. I see things in nature. And they remind me of life and the trials and tribulations I've been through. And I was making notes and putting them in a shoebox. I go, someday I'm going to write a book. It's going to be called Changeless Change. It's going to be in that format. I kind of always knew that. I don't even know why, but you know how it is with us. We get these ideas, divine intervention, I think. Then in May, in 2012, like, I don't know, like February or March, right after the integration and of the two organizations in CSL, and Dr. Ken at that inauguration had said, had invited us to, you know, check what's our vision. How are we going to make? How are we as individuals? What are we going to do to make it a world that works for everyone? So, and I had some ideas, and I'm not sure what they were right now, but I took him to another meeting where the minister had asked us, what are we going to do? Went around in a circle and trying to make this fast and asked us what we were going to do. I said what was in my head, and then after that, someone said, you know, you need to write an article for Creative Thought. Remember that magazine, Creative Thought? Now, this was the first, like, kind of miracle, because I said, okay, and that night, I actually did it. I wrote it, I typed it up, sent it to Creative Thought. Now, that right there was the beginning of a new me, because, long story, but all my life, if someone had said that before, I'd go, oh, yeah, sure, whatever, and it never would have happened. Not in a million years. It would have been, you know, whatever. So I did, and Cynthia Cavalcante was editor of that magazine. She texted me back within 2 hours and said, I'm publishing your article immediately, and I'm pulling another article and replace it to put your article. No edits, nothing. Okay, so that happened. So I was published. Time went by, still no book. That was then Cynthia retired, as you may know, as being editor. She called me immediately. That was like several years later, I think, and said, you need to write a book and I'm going to help you. That's how the book got done. I was in ministerial school, I had no time to write a book, but she said, we're going to do it. So I pulled out the shoebox and just started putting it together.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question. When you talked about writing that first article for Creative Thought magazine, yes, and you said that was a new you, you never would have written that article. The old you would not have written that article. Can you speak a little more to that?
Yeah, it's about, you know, I talk a lot about it in my memoirs. How do I put this? I've always been a writer. I started writing when I was 4. I started reading when I was 2, and I wrote since I was 4. I always loved writing, but it's a secret. Because starting at 4, when my mother started seeing that I was writing, she would take what I wrote and throw it away and said, you will not be a writer because writers are losers. And now, to support her a little bit, her father was a writer who never made enough to feed them. So she had this idea that writers made no money, which so far is true. No, and she was trying to save me, actually, to keep me from getting hurt. But I still kept writing. All through school, teachers would say, you're an amazing writer, practice. Yes, I was used to hearing that I was a good writer, but I just kept writing and keeping it a secret. Facebook actually helped me come out of the closet a little, because I joined Facebook like a lot of people in 2011, I think, and I was posting other people's things. Well, I spent a year just lurking, and I started posting it. And then my friends kept saying, you need to put your own things there. So I started posting little 1 or 2 sentences, and I got a great response. So that gave me confidence. I started printing more and more and more and more. And somehow I just did enough work on myself, uncovering, discovering, discarding on myself, that when Cynthia said you're going to write, or when that friend said, send that article to, write an article and send it to Creative Thought, I just felt like, yes, it's my time. And how I started on the memoir was the same thing. I signed up for, you know, God's always got a hand in everything. I signed up for joined Palm Springs Writers Guild. And the very first night I was there, this was after my Changeless Change was published, and I hadn't written anything else really for publication. I had in my mind a memoir. Well, the first night I was there, I won a contest, and it was to submit, I get to submit 30 pages of manuscript to this big famous editor for free. But that was another little psychic thing. It was like I had been procrastinating on writing, and I had 10 days to submit up to 30 pages, and I had 0 pages. So the previous me would have said, oh, poor me, I knew I shouldn't have procrastinated. I have nothing. I did it. I went, yay, I better go home and get started. I'm like, who are you? So I went home, started writing. I only submitted about 20 pages. He loved it and said he would love to help me write a memoir. So that's how I've been working. Just things going pop, pop, pop. So cutting to the present, I have not made any money really from my writing, which is a goal. And I realized my mother was still a part of this because she said writers are, losers. They don't make any money. Now, because I'm published, I thought I was over that. Well, mostly, but not over the money part. You will never make any money from writing. Oh, well, I didn't get rid of that old idea. And this book actually helps me. It has hints in here about how to do that. It's all about little tips and tricks, how to change conditions and circumstances in your life without losing the essence of you. So I was reading my own book in preparation for this, and I go, oh, I still have an old idea buried in there about money. So that's where I'm at now.
Oh, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. I'm just wondering if maybe our audience wants to jump in here with any questions about maybe changing old beliefs or anything you've heard so far from Carol. And I just unmuted you.
Well, I think it, you don't arrive, we're on a journey. So, when people say, oh, everything's perfect. Well, everything is perfect. However, there are paths that we're taking that sometimes are less than that. So I look forward to seeing your book because there are always things, and I've had my things gone through and the wisdom and just actually plowing forward, but all those little tips, and just like this little coffee cup that I accidentally picked up at Bed Bath & Beyond, it said joy. And every day, how many times I pick this up and read that subconsciously, it's just been, I think it's been part of the opening up again. It's just been kind of interesting, and originally I wasn't going to, I don't need it, blah, blah. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to see that every day. That's going to be a good thing. That's going to be a good thing. So I'm look forward to your little tips because, I don't like to tell other people, but, when it's nice to have your own and have a quiver full.
Right. There you go. I see we have someone trying to join us. I don't know if I can only see a name, not a picture, and I don't know if he's muted or not. Mike, are you there? Okay, let me unmute. Mike, can you hear me? Well, maybe he's having technical difficulties and he'll come on in a little bit. Carol, I'd like to move on. If you could name one principle from your book that you want to make sure that people are aware of, what would that principle be?
Well, it's not just from my book. It's just, since I can only name one, I'd have to say love. Love.
Love. Can you speak more to that?
Yes, because, love is all there is. As practitioners, we kind of know that. We've learned that love is all there is. And so if I can love all of life and mostly myself, then I'm open to creating, my own reality. I'm open to being everything we've learned in CSL, actually. And when I love me, I just create amazing stuff. That's all. It just starts with love, everything. Because I went through all the principles, and thought, what does my book represent the most? And really, of course, it represents all of them because they're all God. But there's just one. It would be love. Love you, love myself, love all of life. And when I'm in that space of love, I just keep creating more love and more good stuff.
Okay.
Does that make sense? That answer your question?
That makes sense. Thank you. And I'm wondering, for follow-up purposes, when you talk about love, oftentimes I find it much easier to love others than I do myself.
Oh.
And you might maybe speak to what it's like for, what do you do? What are the tools you use to love yourself? For example, a little earlier, you spoke to a belief that you can't make any money for being an author.
Mhm.
and how you're having to change that belief. To me, I see that as a little bit of self-love. I'm not worthy. What would I have to say to write a book? And I went through that when I wrote my own book, and I'm currently working on a memoir as well. So what would you say to people who might have an issue with self-love, for example?
Um, well, the funny thing about self-love is I think a lot of us, at least me, I always thought, well, there was a time when I knew I didn't love me. But when I started on a path of self-discovery, and especially with these teaching, I would say, always answer, oh, I love myself. I was in denial about that part of me that I didn't love. Denial. That's just like I just had the awareness that I was still locked into. Well, there's a chapter in my book, actually, The Addict. And that's what I call the subconscious. So I don't always know what's in there, that subconscious, until I know. I don't know it till I know it. And it's, as Lori was talking about earlier, it's this process of uncovering, discovering, and discarding for me. Our journey in life is a process, and everything builds on something else. And so as I uncover, like as peeling the onion, you've heard that before, I go, oh my gosh. And then so I start living in that discovery, and that allows me to uncover a new discovery. And I just keep like unpacking the suitcase, one discovery after another. Now, how do I unpack the suitcase? I do writing, of course. I write every day. So journaling is quite easy for me. So like when I discover an old idea that's been blocking me from my highest good, it might not just be the writing, it might be all kinds of things. Or like, so many really negative ones I let go of a long time, because I've been in science of mind since the early 70s. So a lot of really dramatic, the huge ones that kept me on a park bench, I'm past those. So I thought, I'm cruising, man. I'm doing good. No, I am. I'm doing very well. But there's always like another layer to unpack, another layer. But now it's exciting. It's not painful anymore. It's just like, are you kidding me? How did it take me so long to get the rest of that piece? But I don't dwell on it anymore. I don't say, oh, woe is me. I bleed, I die. I throw myself upon the thorns. No more drama. It's like, okay, yay, another piece I uncovered. So I think I got off track there. So I write. Sometimes I'll have an awareness, and so I start writing. When was the first time I heard that lie? And I'll go back in time, like take inventory of my life. When, just keep going back. I'll be unpacking that segment. And then it'll hit me. Oh, yeah, of course. My mother said that when blah, blah, blah. So, and then I get to live in the new truth. And then when I make the discovery, I start doing affirmations. Like I have a current one. I just wrote it down about making money. I am well compensated with cash money for my, I don't know what it is. I can't remember it right now, but I've been saying that. You'd think I'd know it yet. Specific. I have to be specific in my prayers. And there's this another idea I uncovered recently was that I was attached to the Judeo-Christian idea that you don't talk about money. Or maybe that's not their idea, but somehow I had that deep in my subconscious that I would pray for abundance. But I never wanted to say, damn it, I need money. It was like, oh no, that wouldn't be spiritual. I just pray for abundance. Well, so I'm going to tell you about my fuck you God prayer, if you don't mind, if you're not offended by that I had like a year or so ago, year and a half ago. Go. So I go in and out of money things because when I get I give my money away. And then, if I have to, because the self-fulfilling prophecy, of writers have no money. So I have to give, that's changed. That has changed. But so I get a lot of money, I throw it away because I have to stay poor. Now, I don't know I'm doing this consciously, okay? But that's how the subconscious drives us. My subconscious, or as in my book, everything that's in the attic, an attic up there with all those trunks and things, that's my subconscious. And I'm a sidetrack here a minute to go into that. So I look up in the attic, I think, I'm going to look in the attic. That's like taking inventory. I look up there and I wonder what's in those trunks way in the back. Well, I don't know. The lock's rusty and there's cobwebs and stuff. oh no, I can't look there today, another day. And that's how I am with my subconscious. So I tell stories all through the book, like the attic represents my subconscious, and it stores everything I ever knew since I was born, or maybe before I was born. And some of it I don't want to look at yet. And the boxes that are closed, I look at them. Anyway, where was I? I get so sidetracked. Where was on the thread?
I don't know. I'm lost too, but I sure am having fun being lost with you.
Yeah, also once I have the discovery, I make an affirmation to stay in that discovery. Like, I am worthy of Mickey. Oh, I was starting to tell you about my fuck you God prayer. So I had been doing my affirmations in my spiritual practice with, I am abundant, my life is abundant, I have abundant friends, abundant health, and blah, blah, blah. And I was very faithful, and I was very diligent in my spiritual practice, and I was in trouble financially. So one day I reverted back to never mind 5-step prayer. I'm like, and I'm doing like prayer, God's in the, God, and a voice says, shut up. Okay, stand up, because I was screaming and yelling, there's no God. The voice said, look around. Your life is abundant. You have abundant condo. I did. You have abundant neighborhood. I lived in a gated community with abundance. I have abundant health. I had abundant friends. The voice pointed out I had everything that I had been affirming. And then the voice said, if you wanted money, you should ask for money. Whoa. I said, okay, I want money. Within 24 hours, I had 2 jobs offers. One was youth director, and another one was at a treatment center. So in that, I just learned something about being more specific, and I also uncovered another old idea. I didn't know I had it. If you had said to me, can you say money? Well, of course I can say money. But I did not pray as if I could. You see, the older I get, the longer I do this stuff, the more subtle these things get. 40 years ago, they were blatant. It was obvious what I had to work on. Now they just get trickier and more subtle. So I don't know if any of that made sense, but it's things happen to me that are very helpful to me.
It makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much for sharing that. And I'm wondering if anyone in our audience has any questions at this point.
Oh, Mike left.
Yeah, and Susan was here and she left. I think they were both having technical difficulties.
Oh.
Lori, do you have any questions?
I'm just really enjoying this, and it's sort of like, I've had some of those things too that like pop up, like, you get a little older, and so you look back and you have regrets, and it was like, I didn't think I had regrets, but oh yeah, there's regrets. And so, with the joy thing and stuff, that's what I've been working on, stuff that was just, well, I took a different turn then, and the turn I took brought me kids, or the turn I took did this, and it's like, yeah, that would have been good if I had known that then. But it's uncovering that. You're right, it's very subtle sometimes in the back of your mind.
Right.
And I never would have put that word regret with me, but I was able to, it popped into my head, like you said, it pops in like, where did that come from? And so I wrote to it, like you said. I didn't do an affirmation. I think that that's a good one to do. Prayer is one thing, but affirmations, that's a good one. And that's sort of what my little joy cup is. It's my affirmation every day in the morning. I drink 2 cups. I drink one around 3 o'clock, 4 if I'm home. And it's like, yeah, it just brings me right back to joy.
Cool.
Thank you.
That's my job. It isn't anybody else's job.
Yes.
And I think it was Barbara Bush that they just said, you have a choice to like what you do or not like what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And she said, I like what I do, and I'm the luckiest person in the world. And boy, that is the key. I mean, that is the key,
Yeah.
I agree.
So I feel like I'm around, very much wonderful, like-minded ladies. And this is just really, really sweet.
Well, it's good to have you here too. Carol.
Yes.
In your book on page 6, you have an analogy of the change of the seasons. And you said something to the effect that there is indeed change with the seasons, but the tree remains a tree. And here's the piece that really got me. We don't judge the tree for changing. So the first lesson in the book is that judgment is unwarranted. And I'm wondering if you want to speak to that at all.
Well, no, it kind of speaks to itself, you know. I mean, it's like this all happened when I find a lot of answers to life's problems in nature, because nature is so non-judgmental, and you know, nature is the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, terrible, terrible things happen in nature, but they're not to punish us. They're just part of the circle of life. And so I was looking one day and sitting in on my front porch and surrounded by all different kinds of trees. Like I said in the book, a mulberry tree, and you know, maybe an oak and a maple, and then the trees that did not leaves. And it hit me. Oh my God. Look at all these trees. Nobody cares. One loses its leaves. One has big fat leaves. One has purple leaves, green. Nobody cares. In the winter, some have no leaves. There's no judgment, and everybody just is working. So I see nature as, you know, wouldn't it be nice if life could be like that? So I'm always looking for analogies in nature to improve the quality of my life and in non-judging. And the thing about love, you know, we brought that up before. What I'm finding out with the political thing and Facebook, that not everyone, like maybe most people in the world, do not understand what love means like we know what love means. And how I found that out is I Facebook a lot. I was talking about loving everyone. You know, somebody said, even the I said, yes, even the terrorists, because, you know, we're all doing the best we can according to the light we walk in. And there was a death threat. My life was threatened. And because someone said, and they posted, that's nice, you sleep with the terrorist. See, I said I love everyone, and they went to, you sleep with the terrorists while they're killing your children. Of course, I want to get into the politics. That statement's not even true, but that's what they said. So I'm just going to line you up with all the Muslims I shoot and kill you right along with the people you love. And Facebook shut their page down within just hours. There were 2 pages were shut down, but that got me, it didn't frighten me too much. It just got me to, because they're in Oklahoma for one thing, but it got me to thinking, I need to be more mindful of the words I use, even love. So I probably need to talk more about the qualities of love, the qualities I see in love, and the qualities I see in all the attributes, instead of just throwing in then all our little buzzwords that we use in Science of Mind, because everyone has a different meaning. And judgments are because we all are based on our perceptions. Our perceptions are based on our baggage. That's in here too. We all perceive based on what we experience in our childhood. So if I just say, well, just love everyone, not everyone has the same definition as I do of that word. So there's a lot of things that's in the book too about clarifying what people are saying.
Can you share with me when you speak of love, and you said in the beginning, you said in Science of Mind, we know what love is. Well, even in Science of Mind, we might have a different definition.
Yeah, good point.
What's your definition? Speak more to what you mean by when you say love everybody.
Well, to me, love is, number one, accepting that everyone is doing the best they can, and that everyone is walking in the light according to their own understanding. And then thirdly, behind that, everyone's actually living according to their old ideas. Actually, it's our subconscious minds that are still driving us. For example, another story in the book you saw about throwing the brick through the window. So I like this because we might all agree. There might be 10, say there's 10 of us in a room, and we've all decided that a certain act was wrong. Like throwing a brick through a window. I mean, it may not be wrong to the guy that threw it, but let's just assume for a moment that we all 10 of us are sitting in a room agreeing on a definition of what that act represents. We all say that was wrong and that person should not have done it. And say we're all, just for the sake of this analogy, we're all in agreement on the act that just happened is wrong. Now, so we're agreed on that. This is a little bit off of the love part, but it plays into it. You'll see. Now we're all going to react to that event completely different. Somebody will say there, just sit there and cry. Someone else may try to kill the person. Someone else may call the police. Someone else might throw up. Someone else will be going to the recovery meeting for 6 months and cry about it. So there's a lot of different reactions, and my reactions and my perceptions are based on my old ideas, on my baggage. And that's, that's why everything we see, everything we hear goes through our baggage screening. Like at the airport, when you put your baggage through the screen, it scans. So everything we see is scanned through the attic first, and then we react or we perceive something. So a lot of love then is our definitions of love and our definitions of everything are based on the scan. I say the word love to you. If I say I love you, or I love milk, or whatever, if it's tangible, your response, before you respond, it first goes through your baggage screening, scans your whole, the attic for what you've learned about love, and then you respond accordingly. So, what was your question? Boy, I really do know how to get off track, don't I? I just go blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I was asking you for your specific definition of love.
Right. Okay. So it's number one. I said it's, what did I say it was? I thought it was pretty good. What?
I wasn't taking notes.
Oh, she's muted. I can't hear her.
No, it's me. It was me speaking.
No, but Lori was responding to the question, and we can't. She's muted. Could you just unmute Lori for a second?
Sure. There you go, Lori.
I was saying you said accepting.
Oh, yeah.
Love.
That was my number one. Sorry, Karen. I forgot we're not all on. Yeah, accepting. That's my number one definition of love. When I say I love everyone, I am meaning that I'm in acceptance of whatever their perceptions are of life, of their journey, of anything. The second one is about what is love for me is caring. I have a deep affinity for everything, life, people. There's things that disturb me, but I can't even use the word this is bad or this is good, because it's just all God and it's all life. And I have to be careful, because sometimes I sound like Pollyanna, and if you get too much like that, people have no interest. They're like, oh, you live somewhere on another planet. So I try to talk in real English, but that's my definition of love. There's deep in my heart a genuine caring and respect for all life. And I respect everyone's path. And even if I don't agree with it, and when I say I don't agree with it, it only means it's not the path I want to be on, that's all it means. If I disagree with you, I'm not really saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, good luck to you. That's not the path I want. It's not the path that works for me. So that's what love is, total acceptance. I'm passionate about so many things, but I even love what's unfolding in our world today. I think I just see love happening. I saw a lot of what people call hate coming out of the shadows. A lot of what's called bigotry and discrimination, but I have to honor, respect, and love those people too, with their opinions as different as they are from mine, because they're doing also the best they can do. This is really my unpopular definition, and why I can still love the terrorists is because the terrorists are following their passions. And I believe we teach, follow your passion. And they're following their passion. They're doing what they believe. They're hating, but they believe that what they do, they need to honor their higher power by doing what they're doing. So contrary to what my higher power, but I have to honor their path. And so I bless them. I bless terrorists. I bless the person committing murder today. That's what I think is love.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I love that.
Hope it's not too out there.
No, it's not. I have a question on my list about change. The title of your book is Changeless Change. And when I first heard the title, I thought, and I knew who you were, and I had met you in person, and I knew what you were about. And when I saw that title, I went, that makes no sense to me. Now, after having read the book, it makes a lot of sense. Now I know why you titled the book that. But I'm wondering if you would speak to your title a little bit, and then I have a couple of follow-up questions, but I'm going to stop there and let you have at it first.
What is Changeless Change?
Why did you title the book that?
Well, I had that in my name, in my mind, that title since undergraduate school. Actually, I wrote a paper for one of my first classes in college, first 7 years, and it was, I don't even know. Just that title just came to me because I can't remember what the paper was about. I still have it, but went back in time. I had to clear back to the 1700s in world history.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that nothing changes, but everything changes. So, then I just held that. That was on a piece of paper in my shoebox with all the other little notes in my shoebox. But I had to work on it some more. And I've always been a person that I see things in circles. I see my life in a circle. I see all life in a circle. I see the universe in a circle, the world in a circle, our earth, our government, my life. It's like, you're born and then you feel sad and you feel joy and sad and you die. Just everything goes around pain and recovery. So I have the circle of pain, I have the circle of life. And then there's the easiest one I found for people to get what I'm saying is to talk about the seasons. Because we always have fall, winter, spring, summer. Agreed?
Yes.
We always have 4 seasons. But every fall is different from the last fall. Every winter is different from the last winter. No 2 winters are the same. No 2 springs are the same. No 2 summers. So it's always changing but it's always changing, but it's never changing.
I love that. Thank you. Now, to follow up, what would you say to someone who says, I hate change?
I would say, I get that, but tell me how you define change.
Okay.
Clarify what change means to you that you hate. What is the change that you hate?
Okay. And how do you handle the truth that the only consistent thing in life is change?
Well, thank God. How do I handle that truth? I love it. If there was no change, that would mean everything was static and we would just fall off the earth or something.
Okay.
And the planet would fall out of the universe. Has to be changed, has to be constant. The world the circle keeps turning.
Circle keeps turning.
If any of those circles stop, when my circle of life stops, it's over. I'm on to the next adventure. I'm out of this lifetime.
Yeah. And what you're describing is constant outer change. Back to the analogy of the seasons, we always have fall, winter, spring, and summer, but there's no 2 falls alike, no 2 winters alike, etc. Those are outer changes. What about the inner changes that happen for us? I see inner change as something that is and I'm going to use a really strong word here, mandatory. Inner change is mandatory for us in our life if we wish to progress and not be stuck somewhere. And there's a lot of folks in this world who refuse to change anything on the inside of them. We talk here in New Thought about change your beliefs. If you don't like the way something's showing up in your life, change your belief. We used to have a slogan around here, change your thinking, change your life. And I see a lot of people who simply refuse. They won't even consider changing how they think or how they believe. And I guess one of my goals in life is to facilitate it so that people get the gift, that they see how wonderful it is to have change in their life. Inner change, shifts in thinking and belief systems, even in values. We don't have to have the same values and beliefs. We can change them if they're not serving us anymore. Um, I think I'll stop there, and because I've got another follow-up question about this, but what do you have to say to all of that, Carol?
Well, that was a lot. Which question I have? Well, change is managed. Change happens. Of course, it's nature. There is nothing that's not changing. So it's whether you believe it or not. So a person says that's outer change, constantly changing. It's not static. Interchange is the same. I mean, I may believe this is my belief. It's always been this, but it hasn't. It's still happening. Our insides, our emotions, our physiology, our emotions, our mental, and every state we're in changes. We just think it doesn't. Nothing ever changes. Well, it does. It changes every minute. There's a circle inside of me. There's a circle of life that is constantly changing. My blood flow, my heart, everything's changing. My ideas about life are changing. I may sound like have some hardcore beliefs that don't change, but those are outside beliefs, and they may be true, but they're still changing. They're very, very subtle. Think of a hardcore belief someone has. Just throw one out there, and I'll tell you how it's not static.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to call on my audience here and see if you've got anything to offer for that. Lori?
Well, I think your money one is one, don't talk about money, I think that's pretty pervasive.
Yeah.
Somehow it's bad or dirty or it's whatever, Yeah.
Now that's a good one. So today I've seen how I recognized that was an old idea that was a lie. And so I probably heard that when I was like starting around 3 or 4, and I'm just becoming aware that it's a lie. But that lie has not been an obvious lie to me. It's just been one of those, it's in the attic. And so I didn't know it was changing. I mean, I didn't know I had that belief till recently. I knew I used to have it, but I thought I overcame it. Okay. But meanwhile, the thing about it not being static, that's like any idea. It can't. It can't be static because it has, like we talked earlier about growth as a process. So we are growing. We're always moving, even though we don't know it. So we think we have this list of hardcore beliefs and ideas. I believe this, I believe that, I believe mineral, and this or whatever. I believe whatever we believe. It's still changing, even if we don't know it. It cannot, nothing that is God can be static. It's just can't. Now, there are people who need help, like Karen suggested, moving out of the darkness into the light. So it's not about changing rigid ideas, because even the rigid ideas are changing. We just don't know. Because you can't overnight. I can't get from where I was to where I am, boom, and overnight. I didn't have this hardcore belief that money is evil or something, and then went to sleep and woke up with knowing it was good. All this time, unbeknownst to me, I was moving. I was changing towards a new idea. Didn't even know it. But our job as ministers and practitioners is to, through prayer and whatever means like that, we guide people out of this darkness. We help them open up to the truth of who they are. That's what we do. Our job is to reveal the truth. So we do it like helping them find their own truth. We don't tell them their truth. Like we would never say, you can't believe that. You need to believe. We don't do that. But through prayer and other ways, we guide them out of the darkness. We help them open the door to a whole new idea, and then they decide, oh, I don't believe that anymore. But so that's what I think. Nothing's static. Can't be. God is not static. It's all, as long as it's alive. This table looks, oh, that's a good one. You think your table you're sitting at is hardcore table wood? No, it's always moving. Those little molecules. Oh, that's a good analogy. So that's like the beliefs we don't know we have. The little molecules in things that we think are solid objects. A solid, rigid oak table is not static. It has a gazillion little molecules moving inside. That's the analogy. Yes. You like that one?
I love that a lot. I love that. Thank you. We're at 3:15. We've got a little bit of time left. I'm wondering, Carol, if you have any last minute things you want to say about your book, or maybe even throw it out there why you think people should buy your book?
Yes, I love my book. And I think, okay, one of the things I like about it is not just the content, but that you can open any page at any time and you have a whole story. People tell me they use it like an affirmation book. They keep it by their bedside and they wake up and they just read a page, whatever page they turn to. Because there's so many, there's useful things even I use now. Like, I like the only one win story. Well, I love every story, but we say if there's only one God, how come we're all different? How can this one power help me, and help you too? You the terrorist, you the person I don't like because you shoot people. You have the same power as me. How can this be that you well, then humans say you support the good and you support the bad. It's not my belief there's no bad, but anyways, for the sake of conversation, how can this be? Well, my teacher, early teacher, taught me. He's in his house in Laguna Beach. Says, look out there. See all those sailboats? Yeah. They're all sailing in a different direction. Yeah. Only one wind. It's all in how they trim their sails. So that may be my favorite story. They're all my favorite stories, but that's the number one favorite because that's a huge question in all religions and everyone I've ever talked to that's on a path. Because somehow humans get on this thing like, I'm on the right path and everyone should be on my path. Or how could this God that I love and is supporting me on this path, the right path, of course, how can the same God support all those idiots? How can that same power support who's ever in power running our country, regardless who, I'm not getting political here. Just, it's the same power. How can this God let these things happen? It's not God, it's them, how they trim their sails, because we create our own reality. But that's why I like the book, because you don't have to open the first page and read to the last. You could just, if you're in some kind of emotional pain, or you just need a little uplift, just grab the book and open a page. It's so fun, yet profound. It's really, is there one of these, well, who should we pick a jacket quote and read it? Lori, these are all CSL ministers who wrote jacket quotes.
Okay. Well, the first one comes from Jim Lockard. He's the author of Sacred Thinking, Awakening to Your Inner Power. He's also the author of some other books too, and he has an incredible blog. Jim writes, there is only one truth, but an infinite number of ways to approach the truth. Carol Davis, using prose, poetry, images, and metaphor, has created a pathway to the truth that is easily accessible to every spiritual pilgrim. By following the wisdom in this book, you may just find yourself on top of your personal mountain. I like that. I like that a lot. Well, let me see if our audience has any questions for Carol.
They're also all, my experience, my true experiences, and I write, I make up stories like The Attic for Subconscious. I call things different. I like to see, I think in pictures. And it's how little witticisms of mine, on how I really got from sleeping on a park bench to being a benchmark for success, because I used to be sleeping on a park bench. I was violent on a daily basis. I was eating out of garbage cans. And today I'm a Sunday school teacher. So how do you get from there to here?
You create your own road, for sure.
Yeah.
Lori, any questions for Carol?
No, I just sort of want to build on her, people are doing the best they can. I sort of add a caveat to it because people will say, well, they know better. It's like, yes, they may know better, but they still aren't able to quite do better. It's not that they don't know. I mean, that step into it, whether it's, whatever it is, addiction is one thing, but I mean, it's like they may know better, but they just aren't able to do better at that time. And it helps me step back from, as frustrating as it is, it's like, well, that's where they are.
Yeah.
And like you said, love or accept, you have to accept that, you know,
Yeah.
and not make it bad. Well, they know better. Why aren't they doing better?
Right.
Exactly.
And, you know, for me, for example, I really thought my life could only get better if everyone else changed. I lived in the external. I was a victim of the external.
Yeah.
And when I changed me, the external changed automatically. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I love it when it happens like that, and it always does. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Carol. This has been an absolute, incredible, awe-inspiring delight to spend this time with you this afternoon. And to the folks who tried to log in, I hope that you will listen to the rest of the podcast later. And Lori, I hope you enjoyed this today. Once again, you can buy Carol's book, Changeless Change, by going to her website, www.changelesschange.com. Is that correct, Carol?
Yes.
Yes. If you ever get down Palm Desert way, you can see Carol in person at CSL Palm Desert on Sunday mornings. The rest of the week, I don't know. You're going to have to do your best to catch up with her.
And tell your friends about the book. If you were inspired, I hope you get it yourself and share it with your friends, please.
Yes.
I want the money.
It also would make a wonderful gift.
Yes.
Wonderful gift for someone. There's Live Wild and Free memberships available. You can check it out on our Patreon website by going to www.patreon.com/
How do you spell Patreon?
patreon.com and then / Live Wild and Free. And if you are moved to make a donation to contribute to continued productions of these podcasts, you can do so via PayPal by going to the Center for Spiritual Living Carson City website, and that's cslcc.org. Center for Spiritual Living Carson City.org, cslcc.org. I want to thank everyone for attending. This has been wonderful. And Carol, I hope you have a huge royalty check this month from the sales of this book.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much. Any closing words before we sign off here?
I'm so excited you were here, Lori, because you really added to the, you helped me think of some stuff, and you added depth to just the content. I loved that you were here and loved meeting you. Thank you.
Well, thank you too. I've really enjoyed this. It is, I'm kind of, as I said, a remote thing, and so it's nice to touch base with all of you.
Cool.
Very sweet.
Very good. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to sign us off now. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. I loved it.